Welcome back to Global Eye. Today, we're telling the story of a true American legend whose voice became the soundtrack to millions of lives across 6 decades. Neil Diamond, known as the Jewish Elvis, gave us songs that defined joy, heartbreak, and celebration. From the anthem that unites stadiums worldwide to ballads that made grown men cry, Neil's music transcended generations and genres. His voice was power and poetry, his lyrics were pain turned into symphony, and his performances were electric events that filled arenas for 50 straight years. But behind the glittering career and the timeless hits lies a story of struggle, denial, and ultimately, acceptance. In January 2018, at 77 years old, Neil Diamond was forced to make the most difficult announcement of his life. He was retiring from touring due to Parkinson's disease, a progressive neurological disorder that was stealing his ability to perform. The man who had spent half a century bringing joy to millions was suddenly facing a silence, more profound than any stage could hold. Now 84 years old, Neil Diamond has opened up about his journey with Parkinson's, revealing that he spent years in denial before finally accepting the hand he'd been dealt. This isn't just a story about disease. This is about an artist who defined an era, about the cruel toll that Parkinson's takes on creativity and performance, and about finding peace when your body can no longer do what your soul was born to do. If you're new here, subscribe and hit that notification bell because this is the untold story of Neil Diamond, the triumphs, the heartbreaks, and the enduring spirit of a man who never stopped singing, even when the music itself began to fade. Let's dive in. Neil Leslie Diamond was born on January 24, 1941, in Brooklyn, New York, to a Jewish family of modest means. His father was a dry goods merchant, and his mother was a homemaker. Neil grew up in a working-class neighborhood where dreams of stardom seemed impossibly distant. But music was always in his blood. He received his first guitar at age 16 and immediately began writing songs, finding in music an outlet for emotions and stories he couldn't express any other way. After high school, Neil attended New York University on a fencing scholarship, but his heart was never in academics. He was writing songs constantly, performing at small clubs, chasing the impossible dream of making it in the music business. In his junior year, just months away from graduation, Neil made a decision that seemed insane to everyone around him. He dropped out of college to pursue music full-time. It was 1962. And Neil Diamond was betting everything on a dream that, statistically, would never come true. But Neil had something special. His voice was distinctive, powerful but vulnerable, capable of conveying both strength and heartbreak in a single note. His songwriting was poetic, drawing from personal experience and universal emotions that resonated with audiences. And his work ethic was relentless. He spent years writing songs for other artists, working as a staff songwriter for various publishers, honing his craft while struggling to pay rent and wondering if he'd made the right choice. Dropping out of college, his breakthrough came in the mid-1960s, when he started recording his own songs. Hits like Solitary Man, Cherry Cherry, and Girl. You'll Be a Woman soon established Neil as more than just a songwriter. He was a performer with charisma and presence that translated across radio, records, and eventually, live performances. By the 1970s, Neil Diamond was a superstar, filling arenas worldwide with a catalog of hits that seemed endless. Sweet Caroline became a cultural phenomenon, sung in stadiums and bars from Boston to Tokyo. Crackling Rosie, Song Sung Blue, Holly Holy, I Am, I Said, and dozens of other songs became permanent fixtures in American music. Neil wasn't just successful, he was prolific. He wrote constantly, recorded prolifically, and toured relentlessly for 5 decades straight. He sold over 130 million records worldwide, earned induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, received the Kennedy Center honors, and became one of the most successful touring artists of all time. His concerts weren't just shows. They were events, celebrations, where audiences sang along to every word of songs that had become part of their own life stories. For 50 years, Neil Diamond brought joy to millions through his music and his performances. And then, suddenly, it all stopped. In January 2018, Neil Diamond was in the middle of his 50th anniversary tour, celebrating half a century of performing. He was 77 years old, but still energetic on stage, still delivering the powerful performances his fans expected. But behind the scenes, something was wrong. Neil was experiencing symptoms that were becoming impossible to ignore. Tremors, stiffness, difficulty with movement and balance. His doctors ran tests, and the diagnosis was devastating. Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's is a progressive neurodegenerative disorder that affects the central nervous system, specifically the areas of the brain that produce dopamine, a neurotransmitter crucial for controlling movement and coordination. Common symptoms include body tremors, stiffness, slowed movement, and trouble with balance. As the disease progresses, symptoms worsen, and there is currently no cure, only treatments to manage symptoms. On his website, Neil released a statement that broke hearts around the world. It is with great reluctance and disappointment that I announce my retirement from concert touring. I have been so honored to bring my shows to the public for the past 50 years. The onset of the disease has made it difficult to travel and perform on a large-scale basis, but will allow Mr. Diamond to continue his writing, recording, and development of new projects. Think about what that statement means. After 50 years of touring, after thousands of concerts in hundreds of cities, after making performing the central purpose of his existence, Neil Diamond was done, not by choice, not because he wanted to retire, but because his body was betraying him. The remaining dates of his 50th anniversary tour, scheduled for New Zealand and Australia, were cancelled. Fans who had bought tickets, expecting to see the legend one more time, were left devastated, but their disappointment was nothing compared to Neil's. Neil ended his retirement announcement with a subtle nod to his most famous song, "You will always have my appreciation for your support and encouragement. This ride has been so good, so good, so good, thanks to you." Those words, echoing the refrain from Sweet Caroline, were both a thank you and a goodbye, a recognition that the relationship between Neil and his audiences had been one of the great love stories of modern music, and now it was ending in a way nobody wanted. In April 2023, 5 years after his diagnosis, Neil Diamond sat down with CBS Sunday Morning for a candid interview that revealed just how difficult his journey with Parkinson's had been. Neil admitted to journalist Anthony Mason that he had been in denial for the first year or two after his diagnosis. "When the doctor told me what it was, I was just not ready to accept it," Neil recalled. "I said, oh, okay, I'll see you, whenever you want to see me. But I have work to do, so I'll see you later." That response is heartbreaking in its defiance and its futility. Neil Diamond, at 77 years old, was essentially telling his doctor that he didn't have time for Parkinson's disease, that he had work to do, that he would deal with it later when it was more convenient. It's the response of someone who has spent their entire life powering through obstacles, working harder than anyone else, refusing to let anything stop them. But Parkinson's doesn't care about your work ethic or your determination. It's a progressive disease that gets worse over time regardless of how hard you fight it. Neil told CBS that he only recently came to terms with his diagnosis, saying, "I think this has just been in the last few weeks." Think about that timeline. Neil was diagnosed in early 2018. This interview aired in April 2023. That means Neil spent approximately 5 years refusing to fully accept that he had Parkinson's disease. 5 years of denial, of trying to will the disease away, of hoping that if he just worked hard enough or wanted it badly enough, he could overcome it through sheer force of personality. Neil explained his eventual acceptance. "I can't really fight this thing, so I had to accept it. This Parkinson's disease. There's no cure. There's no getting away from it. You can't just say, okay, enough already. Let's get back to life. It doesn't work like that. But I've come to accept what limitations I have and still have great days." The shift in Neil's language is profound. He went from, "I have work to do, so I'll see you later," to, "I can't really fight this thing, so I had to accept it." That's the journey from denial to acceptance. And it's one of the hardest journeys a person can make, especially someone like Neil, whose entire identity was built on performing, on giving everything to his audiences, on never stopping or slowing down. But something unexpected happened when Neil finally accepted his diagnosis. He found peace, Neil told CBS Sunday Morning. "A calm has moved into the hurricane of my life, and things have gotten very quiet as this recording studio." He paused, then added, "And I like it. I find that I like myself better. I'm easier on people. I'm easier on myself. And the beat goes on, and it will go on long after I'm gone." Those words reveal a profound transformation. Neil Diamond spent 6 decades living in the hurricane, constantly touring, constantly performing, constantly pushing himself to be bigger, better, more successful. The noise and chaos and pressure were relentless. And now, forced into a different kind of life by Parkinson's, he's discovered something he never knew he needed: quiet, stillness, peace with himself and his limitations. Neil admitted in the interview, "I still haven't given it up yet. It's very hard." When asked about touring, he acknowledged that while he had to retire from regular performances, it's hard, but he still hasn't completely given up. This is important. Neil isn't pretending that accepting Parkinson's makes it easy or removes the pain of what he's lost. He's being honest that it's hard, that he misses performing, that there are days when he wishes he could get back on stage and do what he was born to do. But he's also celebrating what remains. Neil told CBS, "I can still sing." That simple statement carries enormous weight. Parkinson's has taken away his ability to tour, to perform on large stages, to travel extensively. But his voice, the instrument that made him famous, that brought joy to millions, is still there. He can still make music. He can still write songs. He can still express himself through the art form that has defined his existence. According to reports, despite his Parkinson's diagnosis and retirement from touring, Diamond hasn't given up on the things he loves, which turns out to be part of what keeps him going. Staying active and engaged with music helps him maintain a sense of identity and purpose, which experts say is crucial for managing the challenges of Parkinson's disease. One of the projects that has kept Neil engaged is the Broadway musical A Beautiful Noise, which tells the story of his life and career. In discussing the musical with CBS, Neil said he's putting his life on display, warts and all, not holding back or sanitizing his story for public consumption. A Beautiful Noise opened on Broadway in December 2022. For years after Neil's retirement from touring, the musical uses Neil's catalog of hits to tell his life story. From his childhood in Brooklyn through his rise to stardom, his struggles and triumphs, and ultimately, his battle with Parkinson's. For Neil, seeing his life dramatized on stage has been both therapeutic and challenging. It forces him to confront his own story, to see himself as others see him, to acknowledge both his achievements and his failures. The musical has been a commercial and critical success, introducing Neil's music to new generations, while allowing longtime fans to experience his songs in a fresh, theatrical context. For Neil, the musical represents a way to keep his artistic legacy alive. Even though he can no longer tour, his songs are still being performed every night, still bringing joy to audiences, still connecting with people emotionally. The medium has changed, but the mission remains the same. Neil has also continued writing and recording music, working at his own pace and on his own terms. He's released recordings, contributed to soundtracks, and collaborated with other artists. The difference now is that he's not driven by the relentless touring schedule that defined his career for 5 decades. He can take his time, work when he feels up to it, and focus on quality rather than quantity. It's a different way of being an artist, but it's allowed him to continue creating even as Parkinson's limits his physical capabilities. Neil Diamond's public disclosure of his Parkinson's diagnosis has had a significant impact on raising awareness about the disease, which affects about 1 million Americans. Many people with Parkinson's may also develop dementia or signs of cognitive impairment as the disease progresses. The average age of onset is 60, and Parkinson's is not always easy to diagnose. As many as 40% of people with the disease are not diagnosed, and 25% are misdiagnosed by being open about his journey. Neil has helped reduce the stigma around Parkinson's and encouraged others to seek diagnosis and treatment. He's shown that having Parkinson's doesn't mean your life is over, that you can still find purpose and meaning and joy even with significant limitations. His message of eventual acceptance and peace resonates particularly strongly with newly diagnosed patients who are struggling with denial and fear. Singer Linda Ronstadt also announced in 2013 that she was retiring because of Parkinson's, telling media that she can't sing a note and that no one can sing with Parkinson's disease. No matter how hard you try, the disease affects facial expressions and eventually the ability to speak. Actor Michael J. Fox went public with his Parkinson's 20 years ago and became an outspoken advocate for patients. Starting the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research, Neil Diamond joins this community of high-profile figures who have used their platforms to raise awareness and support research. While he's been more private than some, his willingness to discuss his struggle with denial and his journey toward acceptance provides valuable insights for others facing similar challenges. He's showing that it's okay to struggle, okay to be afraid, okay to take time to process what's happening to you now. 84 years old, he'll turn 85 in January 2026. Neil Diamond continues to live with Parkinson's disease, managing symptoms through medication, physical therapy, and lifestyle adjustments. Typical treatments for Parkinson's include medication to increase or substitute for dopamine, physical therapy to enhance mobility and comfort, and in some cases, surgical interventions like deep brain stimulation. While the specifics of Neil's treatment regimen are private, he's clearly found ways to manage the disease and maintain his quality of life. Neil has said that staying active physically and mentally helps him maintain motor skills and decrease fatigue. Experts confirm that remaining engaged with activities you love, like music in Neil's case, helps maintain a sense of identity and purpose, which is crucial for managing the challenges of Parkinson's disease. The legacy Neil Diamond leaves behind extends far beyond his music. Yes, he sold over 130 million records. Yes, he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yes, his songs will be played and loved for generations to come. But perhaps his greatest legacy is showing us how to face decline with grace, how to find peace when your body fails you, and how to keep creating and contributing even when you can no longer do what you once did. Neil Diamond's story is ultimately one of resilience. He rose from Brooklyn poverty to global superstardom through talent and relentless work. He created a catalog of music that has become woven into the fabric of American culture. He performed for millions of people over 5 decades, bringing joy and connection through his art. And when Parkinson's disease forced him off the stage, he didn't give up or give in. He struggled, he denied, he fought, and ultimately he accepted. And in that acceptance, he found a peace he'd never experienced during all those years in the hurricane. The man whose songs define joy for so many is now teaching us something even more valuable: how to live with loss, how to adapt when everything changes, and how to find meaning in a life that looks completely different than the one you planned. That's the enduring spirit of Neil Diamond, and it's a lesson we all need to learn. At 84, Neil Diamond stands as a testament to the power of music, the importance of acceptance, and the possibility of finding peace even in the face of devastating loss. From the Jewish Elvis, who filled stadiums for 50 years, to a man learning to live with Parkinson's disease, Neil's journey reminds us that life doesn't always go according to plan, but that doesn't mean it can't still be meaningful and beautiful. His songs will outlive us all. Sweet Caroline will still be sung in stadiums long after we're gone. Crackling Rosie will still make people smile. Song Sung Blue will still bring comfort to broken hearts. But perhaps Neil's greatest gift to us now isn't his music. It's his honesty about struggle, his willingness to admit that he spent years in denial before finding acceptance, and his message that even when your body fails you, your spirit doesn't have to. What's your perspective on Neil Diamond's journey? How do we find peace when we lose the thing that defined us? And what does his story teach us about resilience and acceptance? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. If this story moved you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more deeply researched stories about music legends. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next video. Thanks for watching, and remember, the beat goes on long after we're gone.